Sajs, superfood blend for men.
Oh man, yeah.
Pleased to meet you, man.
Likewise, Nick. Very nice to meet you.
You had a good trip over
Yes.
in the wind. Have you had any floods? Because it's been awful.
You know what? It looked like it was going to flood as soon as I left on the M25. Yeah, it looked like it was going to flood as I left. On the way here on the M25. But thankfully, it kind of calmed down a little bit. A bit of sun came out. Unfortunately, still not great weather.
Yeah,
but,
motorways are generally all right. I've tried to take my daughter to the train station and the road was closed. She's like, Dad, we've only got 8 minutes to get there. We're going to get there. So I have to go a different way in a detour. And we made it. Anyway, this is what brought us together, didn't it?
Yes, of course. I originally reached out to
beauty.
You. Yeah, my creation over the last couple of years. It's Athenaeus. It's a greens blend specifically formulated for men. It's got nice ingredients in there like maca root, shilajit, ashwagandha.
So it's actually got, you've nearly remembered them all, organic maca root, dried dates, lemon juice extract, organic guarana, organic ginger, organic Siberian ginseng, organic spirulina, organic camu camu. These are all organic. I'm not just going to keep saying organic. Agave, inulin, ashwagandha, KSM66, charcoal, activated charcoal, lion's mane mushroom, fenugreek, shilajit, organic turmeric, and biotin, which sounds like Bitcoin or looks like Bitcoin to me, which I know is another one of your little babies. So you reached out to me and said, look, I've got this product. I can see that you've been doing some other supplements and things. Would you like trying it? And I stuck it in coffee and it was absolutely vile. But as I've been on my journey of supplements and whatnot, I know the worse they taste, the better they are for you.
Yeah, I mean, naturally a lot of supplements, people will add additives and artificial ingredients and flavorings and colorings, all sorts of things to kind of mask the taste of the natural ingredients.
But I think as a society we've moved so far away from what the actual taste of good food is. Everything's full of sugar, full of MSG, full of syrups and whatever it is, that everything tastes very sweet. Now, when you actually taste an organic product, it's got a very different taste, hasn't it? So, I'm all for it. I mean, my first real foray into supplements was the shilajit over a year ago now.
And how do you feel?
Tasted amazing. Yeah. It's an absolute game changer. Yeah. In so many ways, the only reason that I'm here now sitting with you is because of that. Whether that's solely because of what it's done to me physically or spiritually, I don't know. We've just been having a fantastic conversation. I wish we'd have recorded part of it before about things like that, hadn't we? So it's going to be on the TikTok shop now, isn't it?
Yes.
So now it's on there. I'm going to start, because I get a lot of people on the YouTube channel saying to me, where can we get the stuff from? So I've spoken about shilajit a few times. They're like, well, where can we get it from? So if you're watching this, it's on my TikTok channel. So I'll make some videos. It'll be in my shop. So it's Athenaeus. What price is this coming in at?
It's £28.
28 quid.
Yeah.
And how many servings are in here?
50, if you take one serving per day.
So if you take one serving a day, it's 50 servings. So it's going to last you a month and a half.
Yes, precisely.
And for anybody that's sort of done any deep diving into supplements and whatnot, these are all what you would put in that sort of class of, these are functional. These are, obviously I've taken ashwagandha, I still take it, turmeric, I've taken lion's mane mushroom, I'm a massive fan of, and obviously the shilajit.
Because look, the fundamental issue that I'm trying to address is kind of twofold. The first is, I recognise an uncomfortable truth about gender roles. Yeah. So for men in particular, we have to go on a journey in terms of building ourselves up, in terms of career, social status, networking ability, all kinds of things, physicality. Yeah. So it's quite a long journey. It takes time to achieve what you want, to be recognised in society. Generally speaking.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And, alongside that, we have a separate issue, which is our men's health, which allows us to help go after these goals. So the issue that I'm quite concerned about at the moment is men's sexual health in particular. Yeah. Because over the last 50 years or so, we've seen a decline generation to generation of men's testosterone levels.
Yes.
And also men's fertility, sperm count, motility, mobility. This has a lot of consequences for society in general. And to give a bit of an understanding of what testosterone is, I'm not an endocrine expert, but testosterone, is a hormone which influences our behavior, is how we think, how we feel. It's a hormone responsible for giving us confidence to go after goals, to take risks. It's the adventure hormone, the conquering hormone. Yeah. It allows us to go on adventures and explore the world and do things of meaning and innovate and build things. And on a societal scale, if that's decreasing over time, you can only imagine what kind of impact that will have on society at large. Less innovation, less risk taking, and also in terms of reproduction, we have less children. The birth rate, for example, whilst it's still quite high, population's quite high. We're starting to see fractures in the system, in different parts of the system, which are also ultimately culminating in a slowing down of the growth rate of the population. And a lot of people can see that over long enough periods, this will actually start to decline. And so, I'm trying to play my small part in trying to, inspire men to continue their journey on their goals, for their goals, and achieve what they want. And also, take more of a conscious, have a more conscious effort day to day in looking after their health, and have more awareness of what they're putting into their bodies, because there's also a psychological component. Yeah. I believe in how our hormones and how our body 100%. Works. If your body hasn't got a need for testosterone, it won't really produce it, I think. So, for example, this is kind of one of the reasons why I recently took up boxing. It's competitive, it puts you under threat constantly. Yeah. And therefore your body needs testosterone to kind of face off that threat. Mm-hmm. I also believe in taking risks. Yep. For example, going out and talking to that girl, who you don't know, mm-hmm. to try and form a connection, mm-hmm. Starting that business, starting to invest your money into something, trying to build yourself up in different ways. Your mind is telling you to do these things, but these days every generation seems to be more averse to risk. Yep. And that's a huge problem. Yep. All these kind of factors kind of come together. And I think it's something that we have to address, and that's kind of why I created Salience. And the tagline, if you see on the homepage as well, is about make your ancestors proud. Yes. Trademarked as well. I don't know why it's not showing up properly there, but make your ancestors proud, because ultimately the end goal of all of this, of everything going on in society, is what I just mentioned earlier, which is about the survival of the population, making sure that we continue to reproduce, and that is something that will make our ancestors proud. Because ultimately, if you assume the purpose of our existence is to continue existing and reproduce, then our behavior should kind of funnel in towards that, achieving that goal.
And optimize that.
Exactly, yeah.
There's two things that stood out there, what you've just been discussing. The first one is the birth rates are absolutely falling. And I've looked at statistics and people that are heavily involved in this. And China have got a huge problem in the next decade because they are not replacing that elderly population, and their economy is under a massive amount of risk because of the one-child policy. And, and I'm not au fait with geopolitics as such, but I would imagine that their immigration is fairly low. I don't think they allow people in, and I don't think the movement of people in and out of their country. And as a result, you've got this aging population with a very small middle sort of age group that are having to support both the youngsters and the elderly, but the youngsters aren't coming through. So that's absolutely, people go, there's 8.2 billion people, but they don't realise. You and I will understand this concept because we've been into crypto and trading, but people don't know what an exponential increase or decrease is. And everything looks nice and it's plodding along, and then all of a sudden you get this exponential curve, and then it's like it's too late now. And there's a lot of very intelligent people that are talking about China being at this, and there's no stopping it. The second thing that you spoke about, which absolutely relates to me, was the reason I started my supplements journey and started looking at the Shilajit and the ashwagandha and these things, was because I felt as a 43-year-old man that had recently been divorced, had contracted COVID a couple of times, been suicidal, gone through all of this shit. I felt myself, I thought my testosterone levels are flat because I'd lost my competitive edge. I had no hunger for anything. I had no energy. I had no sex drive. And I started looking for ways that I could increase my testosterone naturally before I went down the route of going to the doctor and getting on testosterone replacement therapy, because once you go down that route, there's no turning back.
Absolutely.
So that then started my search for these things. And absolutely, have you heard of a supplement called Tonkat Ali?
Yes.
So I started taking that and definitely noticed an improvement. I started having a look at testosterone. I was at one point, I think I made a TikTok video where I came on and says I feel like a fucking chemist because I got like 20 different pots, and I was like, right, I'm taking this one, I'm taking this, I'm taking that. I got invested in looking for things, and then obviously going to the gym and started to take more risks. And absolutely, I've not had my bloods taken, but in the way that I feel, the things that I'm doing, the things that I want to be doing, I know that they've either normalised or they've, got to a level which is closer to being normal. Which was, when I looked at this, I thought, because all of that stuff there, you can't argue with. You just can't argue with it. So it's nice that you've wanted to come and make a change.
Because obviously you know how you feel based on your action, and your body gives you a lot of warning signs before it kind of shuts down, and it gets to a critical point. And I think the best thing that most people can do, men in particular, is to make sure that they go to the gym. They do some training, lift weights in particular. Yes, very important. They take up some sort of competitive activity, ideally some sort of fighting. I think it's very important. They look after their diets. Sleep's very important. Stress, the usual stuff, but also getting sunlight when you can. What's the other ones? Creating purpose in your life, I think, is very important.
Particularly for men. Well, there's got to be that thing that we're trying to conquer.
Yes.
Whether that's running over a hill with a horde of 50 blokes with swords and shields, or it's starting that new business, or it's chasing, courting that young lady where you're apprehensive. But there's got to be an element of conquering.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because we're still, once we're living in a modern society full of technology and innovation, we're still very much attached to our primal brains, which take countless years to evolve and change. And this is another thing I'm going to talk about as well, is that, we're in very much conflict as technology continues to improve at an exponential rate, as we've talked about. Our brains are not adapting to this.
No.
Social media is a big example of this.
100%.
And I firmly believe Mark Zuckerberg has to be stopped with what he's doing with the metaverse, and same with Apple with their Vision Pro. They cannot be allowed to keep pushing this ahead until we as a species figure out how to manage our social relationships in this kind of new world of social media. Because what I'm seeing at the moment, and it's always existed throughout humanity, this in terms of like the relationships between men and women, men build themselves up to create their value and, attract a mate. Women try to preserve that value in terms of like their youth and fertility. But now this nature of women's, being selective for their partner, an evolutionary scale, is now transcended into a modern technological world for dating apps and online dating. People don't really connect as much in person. But now through dating apps, what we're seeing is the majority of men, which I'm sure you already know, everyone knows this now, but the majority of men are not getting that many opportunities through online dating.
Absolutely not.
They can be perfectly great guys, good, financial resources, acceptable, average, loyal, good looking, good father, all that kind of stuff. But the majority of men are still not getting the opportunities. But this is because we're wired differently. Women in particular are wired to be selective, like very selective, to try and find the absolute best person possible. But on dating apps, that means, it means like the absolutely top tier high quality
if
men.
there's one slight imperfection in the photo, they've gone.
Gone, just like that.
Yep.
You know, they're very in tune with subtle details, because they had to do that anyway to evolve and survive.
Yep.
You know, men are physically stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a matter of survival and safety. And now this leaves us in a very unfortunate position where, combined with the fact that people don't really meet in real life, combined with the fact that there are social pressures, it's not really socially acceptable anymore to converse with strangers in public. Combined with the fact that testosterone is lower and there's less risk taking, combined with the fact that you could end up on TikTok for making a really bad approach, combined with the fact that there's less confidence, and naturally when you learn a new skill, like approaching women, you're going to stumble your words, you're going to be awkward and maybe even creepy, combined with the fact that there's a risk that you might be, I don't know, incarcerated or something for, you know...
Saying the wrong thing.
Which, by the way, I made a post about on social media. Even the men who do end up sexually assaulting women, there aren't many consequences for it. So I think men need to stop worrying about that in particular. Nothing's going to happen. It's not likely to, unless you do something really outrageous, which I think if you're a good, you know, honest, good intentioned man, you're not going to do that. So you're fine. You know, we're heading towards this place where people just aren't connecting as a result of all these factors. And it just, you know, something has to be done. In my culture, you know, traditional Islamic culture, South Asian culture, typically the families and communities get involved to introduce men and women together.
Yes.
And that's where the kind of relationships kind of come from.
Yeah. Sort of an arranged marriage type thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's now more modern where, you know, you just get introduced and you talk for a little while, and if there's a connection, you kind of continue forward. It's not really forced or anything like that. Of course, there are cases of that still happening in the world, but these days not so much. Whereas in our society in the West, it's left to the individual to kind of fend for themselves. And I think one of the solutions, I think this topic is so complicated, but one of the solutions to addressing this for young people today is that their families and the communities get involved, because it's very like every parent wants to see their child succeed in life and not be alone, and we have this innate drive to connect with others and reproduce and all that kind of stuff, have intimacy. Parents and their communities need to have more responsibility over their children's ability to form relationships, I think.
It's absolutely a spot on point that you make, and I've noticed this. So the vast majority of my best friends are Asians.
Okay.
Loughborough's a very multicultural society, town, community, really. It's not a huge place. But yeah, all of mine are pretty much Asians, whites. So I've noticed the difference between the white families and the Asian families. The Asian families, you go around and the cousins are there, the grandparents are there, the second cousins, the cousin brother. They've got this massive extended family that are always there in support. You go to the white friend's family and it's just the mum or the dad and the sister. The dad's at work. I noticed this. I went on holiday in October. I took my girls to Turkey, and there were more, I would say, German and Dutch families there than anything else. But even they were, and I know it's a holiday and it's probably just a snapshot of 1 or 2 weeks in the year, but it was grandparents were there with the young kids, and you could see that whose mum and dad it was, and they're all sat around the tables. And then you look at the predominantly white English families, and it was mum and dad, 2 kids. That was it. And I think as a Western society, we've lost in a huge amount, not everybody, this extended family. It's you go and live away. You know, it's frowned upon. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they says, "Oh, where's such and such living now?" And they told them the road that they were living on. And went, "What? That close to the mum and dad?" It was kind of shunned upon. Whereas you think to yourself, you've got ready-made babysitters there.
Yes.
You've got anything happens and goes wrong. You've got the dad can come round and fix it, and this, that, and the other. And we've gotten so far away from that as a society that it's having massive repercussions. And then the other thing that I want to come back to that you were touching upon is with this dating site and how women are designed to sort of go and look for that optimal mate. 100 years ago, the pool that they could pick from was their local town.
Absolutely.
So maybe 50, 60, 70 eligible guys. So she picks the best of that bunch. Now, at our fingertips, there's 7 million.
Yeah.
And you can make your radius as big and as wide as you want.
Yes.
So it's almost we've created a problem by trying to solve a problem.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think people really underestimated the role of our biology and primal instincts in how we form relationships. But they also underestimate the role of the economy and our culture, our psychology as well.
Yeah.
You know, for example, touching on what you're talking about in terms of family and, you know, living quite far apart, especially in modern times where inflation is high and, you know, people are really struggling to keep up with their living expenses. Why is there a need to have multiple mortgages, multiple cars, multiple TVs, multiple bills? You know, try and be conservative with your expenses, because ultimately, I see a future where, you know, as AI becomes more prolific in society, people will be even more competitive with each other, particularly men, because we're the builders, generally speaking. Will be more competitive with each other, struggling to keep up, and, you know, the opportunity cost of paying multiple rent costs and all kinds of costs. You know, if you can live at home with your parents for a little while longer, do so, because if you can save 10, 20k, 30, 40k, you can compound that savings into an investment and, you know, have a return from there. For example, in cryptocurrencies, you know, you have so many people making huge amounts of money. But you do need some capital at first. You know, it's not whilst you know, you can start up with a few £100 or, you know, £1,000, for example. You know, it's much harder to make that grow to 6 figures, for example, compared to if you have like £20,000 in there.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're paying £1,000 a month in rent, £2,000, whatever it's in London, for example, and you're paying for another car, you know, you're just reducing your ability to kind of grow.
Mm-hmm.
All your life energy is being put into working just to maintain your standard of living. When you could be at home, for example, or somewhere else, saving that money and investing it. Obviously, I get it's not possible for everyone to live at home for various reasons. No.
But it's shunned upon, particularly in the white community. It's as soon as you get of age, you need a mortgage now. You need a mortgage. Move out of house. You need a mortgage. And I think we've been sold a, you know, but equally, I think that potentially what's going to happen is financial situations are getting so bad that it's going to have to start seeing the reintroduction of staying at home, living with your mum and dad, which I think is going to have a positive impact on society.
I think so too, to a degree.
After a lot of pain.
Exactly, yeah.
After a lot of pain.
Yeah. I think with a lot of good, to get to a lot of good, a lot of pain has to come across. I'd be interested to hear what kind of pain you think there'll be. But you know, the consequence of living at home is that social connections become a bit more difficult for young people.
Correct.
I myself experienced that. You have to be very intentional and put a lot of effort in to create a social life. Because I think as you get older, as you know, and living with your parents, there are bound to be conflicts arising, because you have your way of doing things and your parents have their way of doing things, and different attitudes. And you know, if you don't have a stable home environment where there is conflict, then it becomes harder to kind of form those social connections outside. You can't bring your best self. And that leads me on to another point, which is, you know, we aren't really bringing our best selves. Most of the population aren't really doing that, because money is a huge factor in our happiness. I think it's actually wrong to say that money doesn't buy happiness, because I think it really does.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It certainly helps.
Yeah.
But it depends what your idea of happiness is. If your idea of happiness is travelling the world, you can't do that without money. If your idea of happiness is painting, and you've got enough money to just buy a few of the materials that you're going to need to sit in that meadow and paint that beautiful vista, then possibly you don't. So I guess it's what makes you happy. To make some people happy, they love to go skydiving. You ain't doing that on 12 grand a year.
Absolutely.
But if you're on 120 grand a year, 300 grand a year, you can go skydiving in New Zealand. And so, but I totally agree with you. It gives you the option, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan talks about money as being fun tokens. That's all he looks at it as. Yeah. The more money he has, the more fun things he can do. Now, this guy likes shooting and archery and, you know, buying $20,000 ice baths and things like that. Well, clearly those types of things make him happy. He's not doing that if he's broke. But
Absolutely.
You're totally right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, you know, at least for me, and I think potentially for a lot of other men, you know, the goal shouldn't be just money itself, but like you said, your definition of happiness. And for me, that means being able to take care of my parents, to be able to buy a house and not worry about, you know, having to pay a mortgage every single month, which I'm still working on, of course. You know, it means being able to afford private healthcare so that I can, you know, have a better quality of life and not wait around for months for an appointment.
Yeah.
You know, for example, a couple of years ago, I woke up one morning and I had a paralyzed face on the right side. I just woke up just like that.
It's called...
I
was just about to say Bell's palsy.
Yes, it's called Bell's palsy.
Yeah.
And it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
Randomly. I think mine was stress triggered, but, you know, I was fortunate enough that I went to A&E and was seen to within like 12 hours.
Because your concern there is it's a stroke, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. I called the ambulance, and they did like some sort of test on me with an ECG as well, and they said, no, you haven't had a stroke. And they said, go to A&E and get checked out. And then I went to A&E. I was there, I think, for like 14 hours, something like that. And during that entire time, I felt like my face was getting worse and worse. And it did continue to get worse for like 9 days. Every single day I wake up and it was just slightly worse, slightly more worse every single day. And then on day 9, it kind of just stabilized for a couple of weeks, just stayed the same. And then I was thinking, oh shit, is this it now? Is it permanent? I was Googling and trying to find out, okay, can Bell's palsy be permanent? And the answer was yes, it can be permanent. Yeah. And so then at that point I realized, okay, I know there are 2 possible reasons why I could have got this. Either there was a viral infection in my ear, which the doctors ruled out, or it was stress. I know I was very stressed because I was running a marketing agency at the time and I was really kind of buckling under that pressure. So I decided from then on, okay, I need to be emotionally resilient. I can't let the thought of the future, you know, be the reason why this Bell's palsy remains with me for life. So I thought, you know, whatever happens. I'm just going to chill out. I'm going to take a break. No more gym as well, because I just want my body to focus on recovery. Yeah. All resources dedicated to this one thing. Yeah. I was buying takeaways and stuff like that as well, healthy stuff, as best it could be. And I was eating a bit less as well, less carbs in particular, and just focus on resting all day, watching movies and stuff, just chilling out. And then around week 6, you know, by the end, like a few weeks into this whole, you know, ordeal, it started gradually getting better every single day. And by week 6, it was completely gone. Well, 95% gone. I still have it, like 5%. When I talk, especially when it's cold outside, I kind of struggle to talk with the right side of my mouth, or if I yawn, my right eye just closes randomly. It's really funny. Well, not funny. But
so did it feel like, you know, when you've been to the dentist and you've had the injection and it's just a numb and...
It's nothing like that.
There's
no numbness. It's just like this side of your face is switched off. As a result of it being switched off, it starts drooping as well.
Right, so the muscles become like totally relaxed.
Yeah, exactly, because what's happened is that the facial nerve, which runs from the brain down through behind the ear and then spreads out into your the organs in your face, that becomes inflamed and it's not able to transmit the signals from the brain to the parts that need them. So my eye wasn't able to close. I couldn't blink. So I was using eye drops every like half an hour.
What about sleeping?
Sleeping was fine.
Could you close your eye to sleep?
So what I did was I'd get some tape.
Taped it down. I was going to say that you taped it down. Yeah.
There's like medical tape you can use. Yes. And you just put it on your eye, and you can just, you know, it will stay shut. I know it's kind of ridiculous.
How was your love life going through that?
Oh no, nothing at all. This is the thing as well. I think for men.
Imagine that you just finished. You just cuddled this, that, and the other. Yeah. Hang on a second, we're going to sleep. Let me take my eye closed.
Yeah, because at the time I was. Yeah, I know. It's just. It sounds really funny.
Yeah.
At the time I was
horrendous.
single. Yeah, I was single at the time as well.
Horrendous.
As a young man, frustrated through life as well. I was actually frustrated, like in a big way back then.
Yes.
And then this happened to me, and I was like, oh shit.
Another thing.
I'm not going to get laid now. There's no way I'm getting laid ever again.
Could have put a pirate patch on.
Yeah.
I've heard the girls like a pirate.
I'm sure some girls like the kink.
What's his name? Jack Sparrow.
Oh yeah, and then Johnny Depp. Get some eyeliner on as well. But I think the frustration that men feel, it comes from like feeling invisible.
Yes.
And during this process, a lot of men understand that they've got to build themselves up over time. Mm-hmm. And during this time, they can feel invisible, especially in the dating world. So to also have like a medical condition on top of that,
which is on your face.
Yeah.
It's on the signboard, isn't it? It's on the poster board. It's not on your back or somewhere you can kind of
get away with.
It's
until you get to know someone and their first impression is kind of you move past it. But if men out there are dealing with these kinds of issues, there's no wonder why suicide continues to increase. I made a post about it back in November. Suicide is going up.
Yep.
I think almost like 1 in 10 men have thought about it at least once, which I don't believe, by the way. I think it's a lot more than that. I think some majority of men would have thought about suicide. They've either romanticized it in their head, like going towards some sort of battle and winning it, and then dying or whatever, or they've kind of just generally thought about making the plan and actually doing it. You mentioned your experiences as well.
Yep.
So I think suicide is going to increase. It's definitely trending upwards.
It should be obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me until I was listening to something the other day. And they talk about life expectancies coming down. Mm. But the reason that life expectancy is coming down for men is because so many men are killing themselves. Yeah. So the average age is coming down. It's not because heart conditions necessarily are even higher or, the food that we're eating is worse. It's because that many are dying through suicide at a younger age that it's having this massive effect on the average lifespan of males. And when you think about that, you're like, shit.
And, I think this is a very horrible thing to think about because I do believe there's some sort of homeostasis or equilibrium that Mother Nature creates.
Yes.
And it's kind of because like with the example you gave back in the day in the village, there were only 50, 70 men that a woman could kind of pursue.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, now we come so far technologically that now there's like an abundance of men around. And now what's happening is that men are killing themselves, exiting the gene pool. And that is in turn creating less competition. Like if you look at it at a really primal level, it's creating less competition for the men that exist on a macro scale. Obviously not, locally, but it's a very horrible thing to kind of think about. But that is what the numbers are kind of showing. And I don't know if you can bring up my Instagram. I made a post about suicide. If you look up the salience on Instagram. Oh, you just click.
It's really interesting. While they just look for that, I just want to delve a little bit more into what you've just said because it's fascinating. But the reason that the gene pool is becoming weaker is because the men that are attracting the women aren't necessarily your alpha barbarians of old. Mm. It's now the crypto geek that bought a meme coin for $50 and sold it for $30 million. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, this guy that 200 years ago wouldn't have been mating with the top tier women now is.
Very good point.
And your alpha guy that sat there and lost his money, lost his marriage because of it, who ends up ending things, those genes have been taken out. So you're getting this
unnatural consequence of technological innovation.
And equally, modern medicine has a lot to answer to as well, because back in the day when somebody that was born with a congenital disease or whatever that possibly would have seen them maybe not reach breeding age or mating age, now all of a sudden with modern medicine which is fantastic for them, and you wouldn't want it. We're not talking on the human level, we're talking on the cosmic level of where the race is going. You're now keeping the slightly weaker genes, the genes with they're not being eradicated. So it's a little bit like never emptying your recycling bin on your phone.
Yeah, I agree. I know it's horrible to think about that way.
It is.
But
on a human level, it is, because if it was you or if it was somebody that you loved, of course you would want them to be. But on an evolutionary scale, it's no longer survival of the fittest. It's survival of the richest, because you can pay for the best healthcare. It's survival of the richest in terms of, I don't need to be a 6'4" barbarian that can fend off 15 men anymore to get the prize maiden in my fort or castle, wherever it is. I can now be this geeky little 16, 17-year-old that sits in my bedroom doing nothing all day, getting no sunlight, getting no exercise, hits the jackpot on a crypto or a trade or something like that. Now all of a sudden I've got the Lamborghinis, I've got the Ferraris, but I haven't got any of the attributes that evolutionary Mother Nature wants to push forwards.
Yeah, because it's all about survival of our species.
Yes.
Assuming the evolutionary theory is correct.
Yes.
And ultimately, what you're saying is whoever can adapt the most is the one who survives and procreates. And you're right, it's very uncertain time. Like, you can imagine what happens when you have multiple generations kind of passing through with this kind of plastering over issues. It kind of goes back to the testosterone thing, because the issue that we're having now, today, in terms of the social issues and biological and psychological, one contributing factor is our sexual health of our parents and their grandparents.
Yes.
Because we only started just recently using man-made chemicals in our everyday consumables. There's these things called endocrine disruptors.
Yes. A lot of these are these microplastics, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah. These are microparticles that we can't necessarily see.
Yeah.
They're man-made chemicals. They persist in a lot of modern technology. For example, your toiletries, your shampoos, your creams, your hair washes.
Your water bottle, the
plastics.
particularly packaging for food.
Exactly. And those microplastics leach into our food, particularly if you put hot food in plastic.
Yes.
And what this does is it's absorbed by our body. Now, these microplastics, they have a similar molecular structure to our hormones.
Right.
And what happens is that these microplastic molecules, they bind to our receptors and trigger some sort of biological response.
Which isn't the designed response if the hormone, because from what I can remember from A-level biology, your hormones, it's almost like there's a lock and a key, and they fit in perfectly.
Exactly that.
So, but then what happens is, whether it's a chemicals transfer from one to the other, I'm not sure, but what you're saying is you've got this man-made object that mimics the lock and key system, but then as that locks in, none of the actual what it needs is
you might have a surplus of one molecule,
dopamine or serotonin or whatever.
And in this particular case, testosterone. So for example, estrogen. So for example, when you have people who want to change their gender identity and their sex, what is the first port of call in terms of that treatment?
Hormone replacement.
Exactly.
Or hormone therapy.
Yeah, exactly. So they're giving you a surplus of a certain hormone to try and change your attributes, because our hormones, they guide our behavior and our biological, functions in the body and our physical appearance.
Yes.
So if you give a woman testosterone, over time, she will now gradually start to kind of trend towards masculine behaviors and masculine features and masculine way of thinking. And by the way, I'm going to diverge, going to tangent here. If you are a woman thinking about becoming a man, don't do it, because you're going to have a horrible time being a man. You're going to be invisible. I already mentioned earlier on how the majority of men, on dating apps, for example, are invisible.
Yep.
Okay, you're going to be at the bottom of the barrel in terms of physical attractiveness, and you're going to start building from scratch. If you're in your 30s, late 20s, you've not had that early journey beginning in your teens. Yeah. You're starting way late.
You've not gone through the tutorial in the first few levels of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been dumped in halfway through Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. With no equipment.
No map, no nothing. Yeah. Just before you move on to that, because I told this story the other day, and it sums this up perfectly. I can remember watching a documentary a while ago, and it was about a female that was transitioning to a male, and this was after she had transitioned, so she And I find this all very, very confusing because I'm tripping up on my words. It was a man telling the story about when he used to be a woman and transitioning. But anyway, the crux of the matter is, she said, I'm going to go with it. She said, the moment I started taking testosterone, all I could see was tits and ass everywhere. I'm walking down the street and I can't keep my eyes off of it. That's all I'm seeing. It's all I'm thinking about. And the guy interviewing her said, that's what it feels like to be a teenage man, teenage boy. Your hormone levels are controlling everything and all you're interested in. And this person that was transitioning says, I finally understood why men are the way they are.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. But you can remember being that 16, 17-year-old lad, can't you? Yeah. And I can remember going from not really liking going, not hating going to school, but just kind of like, meh. To suddenly one day it was like, I can't wait to go back to school. Because it was almost as though all of these young girls, you'd never seen them before. Yeah. It was almost like, where have these all been? Well, they've been here for the last 3 years, but something switched.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I went to an all-boys school, so I didn't really know that.
Man. Oh, man. I mean, just... You're looking at girls that you've known for 5 years and they've just been a friend. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're looking at teachers.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's going on here? And
very interesting.
All you're focused on and I can't speak for all men, all I wanted to do was be with my male friends and talk about the girls. That was it. Yeah. Who do you fancy? Who's fit? Yeah. She's fit. Oh, who's going out with her? That was it. That was all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to do. So keeping young lads in, and I guess it's similar for girls, maybe slightly younger age, penned up in these schools when really all you want to be doing is being out there with your mates and trying to... Yeah, but it was fascinating hearing this from the point of view of someone that had transitioned from female to male, saying this testosterone stuff is fucking deadly. Because I can see myself getting into all kinds of trouble. I can see why boys do stupid things now to try and impress a girl. I can see why boys fight each other because I've just got this outlook on life which I didn't have before. Yeah,
but you're also highlighting that we are, men in particular, are driven by sex. We're motivated by this. And, you know, if there are a lot of men out there now who are sexually frustrated, but they're not using that energy to... be more productive and increase their value. Instead of sitting at home, releasing that energy through porn and video games and doing whatever, try and channel that energy into something a bit more productive that kind of enhances your value in the sexual marketplace. Things like working on your career, things like working on your physicality and things like working on your network.
Your knowledge.
Ultimately. Yes. All that comes down to knowledge, foundation. Yeah. And I think because your future self will really thank you if you start working on these things. Otherwise, you'll start getting older and realizing that your opportunities are fewer. Because there's like a meme out there, not a meme, but people say, when a man gets to 30 years old, the world opens up to him. But it doesn't happen just because you turn 30 years old. No. Yeah, the reason why it's 30 is because, by that time you've had a decade plus or more of work ethic under your belt and you've achieved a few things. But you can't tell young men in their early 20s, when I'm 30 years old, when you're 30 years old, you start getting girlfriends and all this kind of stuff.
It's not true.
It's not true. You'll just end up being a loser who's just like in the corner of every room that girls, women are trying to avoid.
I think an important thing to say to young men is, by the time you get to 30, make sure you know who you are. Make sure you know what things you like, what things you don't like, what things you'll tolerate, what types of behaviours you'll tolerate, what things you're looking for in a partner, whether you're homosexual or whether you're heterosexual. What kind of things do I want in my partner? Do I want somebody that is very feminine and, is there for me in that spiritual and nurturing type sense? Some men want a partner that is equal to them in drive and ambition, and that becomes their... is sex very important to you? Is that the type of thing? And I think there's a lot of blokes that get to 30 and they don't know who they are because the last 10 years have just been working a job that they don't enjoy, being around people that they don't really want to be around. What kind of people do you like being around? Are you the kind of person that likes to go out for a drink with a few people and have a bit of a dance? Or are you the kind of person that goes, do you know what, a lot of blokes don't know that. And I guess maybe a lot of women don't know that as well.
It's difficult because I kind of resonate with what you just said there because, most of my 20s, I've been on this grind where I've been trying to escape, my normal job because I absolutely hated it. The first few weeks at a new job were always nice. You met new people, learn new things. But then after a while, the mundane routine of being told when to go into work, when you can have your lunch and when you can take annual leave, all that kind of stuff. The freedom was restricted, and I always kind of hated that. Then on the flip side, I always saw on social media how, these guys were becoming millionaires, starting their own businesses and, trading stocks and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, why can't that be me as well? And I firmly believe that, we can all be what we want if we become intentional about our lives. Like, there are no strengths and weaknesses. You have to believe there are no strengths and weaknesses. You have to believe that you can learn any skill. And, that belief is what led me to kind of come out of my normal job, start my own business.
So what was your normal job?
So before
normal, what is normal?
Yeah, so like, I classified like a normal job as,
9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
That kind of thing.
What were you doing?
So before I left full-time employment, I was a digital marketing manager for an e-commerce business.
Okay.
Before then, I was working at a marketing agency, and before that, I was like a stockroom boy.
Which doesn't that sound glamorous? And there'll be young people sat there watching that going, Sajs had it all, he's got it all, and e-commerce, but it's a load of bullshit, really, wasn't it?
It is, because it's not your business. You're being ultimately, businesses have to profit off of their employees.
Of course they do.
That's how the world works. And so in my head, I always believed, okay, I'm giving this much value to a company, but I'm getting a percentage less than that value in terms of compensation. And I never really liked that. And of course, I worked my arse off, to get out of these jobs. I'd wake up 4 a.m. in the morning, go to the gym, come home, pack my orders, then go drive an hour and a half to work. And I absolutely hated there. Then work during lunchtime as well, like answering customer emails or researching products and just building the business. And then go home, eat my dinner, work some more. No social life, no dating, nothing like that. I was very reclusive, yeah, isolated, and that did numbers on my mental health, by the way. If I could go back, I would try and maybe find some more time for like socializing and all that kind of stuff, because that grind really took a lot out of me, and I think it led to that paralysis in the face.
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely makes sense.
But on the other hand, I think, you know what, because I've always felt a sense of urgency about succeeding and making money, because I've always seen the situation in the future where time is running out and like stuff like AI is coming on board. But also, to be completely honest with you, like I want to be able to attract like the best possible woman I can into my life.
Of course.
And that requires a certain standard of a man as well. So I've always felt, okay, I want to achieve things whilst I'm young as possible and kind of attract what I want. So a sense of urgency from those two things. Also take care of my parents, family life wasn't too great. So I'm very motivated to do that. And I think a lot of men can resonate with this. If you want to get out of your job and start earning the money that you think you deserve, that you should deserve, you have to be willing to kind of sacrifice some things. And early on, that sacrifice involves your free time. So getting up early, working on that side hustle, spending more time researching. And I think the opportunities right now for a lot of us at the moment, 1, crypto, 2, social media, and 3, AI. You need to be kind of synergistically working between these 3.
Can I just stop you for a second?
Of course.
This is one of the best conversations I've had.
Oh, really?
On this podcast. Honestly, mind-blowing. I'm really, really enjoying this conversation because you're saying a lot of the things I'm saying. But it appears to me as though you've got that secret ingredient, because I don't think there's many young lads that can do what you've been doing and working and go through the paralysis and all of this and still be there standing, still driven and motivated. But this is fantastic. I'm really, really enjoying it. Before you move on, there's 2 things that in terms of the time, we have 4,000 weeks if we're lucky. And I say this to everybody now because I did a podcast with a young guy the other week who's a life coach. If you live to 80, that's 4,000 weeks, okay? That means me at my age now, 45, I've got 34 Christmases left.
Oh, when you put it like that, absolutely disgusting.
34 Christmases left, okay. 34 summers, 34 winters. You'll start to see urgency when you start thinking of life like that. Now, that's if I'm lucky. Statistics are saying that about 1 in 2 people are going to get cancer. So it's highly likely that one of us 3 in this room are going to get cancer. Yeah. So we ain't going to see those 80 years, those 4,000 weeks. Yeah. The second thing is, which you touched upon, this is a saying that I've had for a long time. You can be anything, but you can't be everything. And I think some people try to spread themselves too thin. So they're trying to dabble in a bit of crypto trading, and they're trying to dabble in a little bit of their work, and they're trying to dabble in starting their own brand, and they're trying to dabble in stocks and shares, and and they're kind of doing nothing.
Yes.
So pick your battles wisely, because you can be anything.
Yeah.
But you can't be everything. Which is exactly what you said. There has to be. You couldn't be the party guy that was going out at the weekends and meeting girls and drinking.
Yeah.
And then going to work and doing a good job at work and then doing your side. Something would have given. Yeah. It might have been your health, which it almost sounds like it was. It might have been your job and you get the sack and now all of a sudden you got the money coming in. You let your business slide. Whatever. So yeah. So you've got 47 Christmases left, if you're lucky.
That's crazy.
Yes.
When you think of it like that.
That's what I've had already, pretty much.
But fortunately, a lot of smart people now are saying, because of all the advances in longevity technology.
What are you going to say?
You know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say.
If you can make it 10 years.
Yep. You'll live forever.
You basically live forever. Well, as long as you possibly can, because the exponential increase in technology means that every 10 years, our ability to improve our lifespan continues to increase at an exponential rate, and therefore it's just a matter of living another 10 years and another 10 years to benefit from all the advances in technology. So who knows? They say the root of all disease and illness is through aging. I can get it, but definitely some people who are young and have disease. I had a friend who had cancer when he was a teenager. So I don't think all diseases are related to age.
No. But the vast majority are.
Yeah.
The vast majority
the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
And another foundation of everything, going back to your point about, spreading yourself too thin, if you're thinking about starting a business, don't even think about launching that business. Think about social media. And I know we talked about this as well, about how you should get on TikTok and, create a presence. Because I resonate with that a lot. Don't just, if you want to start a cafe or a restaurant or an online business, I don't know, if you want to shine shoes or whatever your business is, as long as you can just start first posting content on your social media, building up an audience, then you have scale for your business. Because in the world that we're going into now, where people lose their jobs, or where people are assisted with AI, and as a result, companies need less employees, there are going to be more people who are going to be trying to start businesses, particularly now as the barrier to entry to start a business is so low. For my business, for example, creating a website, you don't need to be tech savvy anymore. When I first made my first website as a teenager, I had to use a file manager to program.
You had to know HTML and
all
CSS
that kind of stuff.
And all of that
nonsense. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now you don't even need it.
No.
Build your website there. You can also use ChatGPT to strategize and build a product development plan, a marketing plan, to generate content for you for social media. If you even scroll through my social media feed, the early content as well, a lot of it, some of it was like driven by AI. I'd write the captions, I'd ask ChatGPT, give me a caption, and I'd kind of edit it a little bit and put it on social media. But if people understand that if you focus on social media first, that will help craft an edge for you in the world that we're entering in, with AI being a competitive force against your job and for your money. Focus on that, and don't even post about the business itself. So for example, with the salience, my target audience are men, who are very driven, motivated, health conscious, of the kind of grind mentality. That's kind of how I'd kind of bucket them. If you kind of create content around that to attract your audience,
and then the product just falls into place.
Exactly that. So some of my first posts were like motivational videos that I kind of just repurposed. I didn't want to spend money on it. I just took content that's already out there, repurposed it, added like a music on top of it. Like it could be from movies, a couple of captions, and then that got me my first 3,000 followers. And things obviously slowed down because I honestly I don't enjoy social media. I struggle with it a lot. I'm naturally very introverted, very shy. But I realised that...
And he's now sat on a podcast.
I know. It's crazy, but for men, ultimately, the world opens up to you when you start forcing yourself almost to be extroverted. And again, taking risks, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, because those situations is how you grow as a person. And, you know, that's how you kind of, I believe, you kind of push forward and adapt. Going back to our early conversations about, you know, survival of the ones who can adapt the most. And this is how I see we adapt. And then you take your fund from your business, you funnel it into investments. So, you know, the business already allows you to grow, to increase your earning potential beyond what you can achieve in a normal job. Funnel that money into cryptocurrencies. You have to take this risk, because I don't really see a future without taking this risk anymore. Funnel that money into cryptocurrencies, buy Bitcoin. If you really want to go further out on the risk curve, buy Ethereum and altcoins like XRP. Well, maybe not XRP.
We agree on that.
Yeah, because I bought
it's not the one, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not the one.
The thing people have to understand about crypto is that it's not, same with the stock market to a certain degree, is that you have to understand, again, that it's all emotionally driven. A project could have the best fundamentals and the best technology ever, but if it doesn't capture the attention of the market, exactly. You know, Chainlink is a fundamental part of the entire DeFi ecosystem.
Absolutely.
But where's the price going?
Nothing.
Yeah,
it does nothing.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, bonk coin.
Yeah,
does nothing. 10,000% increase. Yeah. Whatever.
So whatever captures the attention of people is what is going to grow fastest.
Yep.
And unfortunately, this whole thing is a joke. It's funny money. It's a scam. But it doesn't mean you can't profit off of it. So I'd highly recommend for everyone to focus on information flow. Sign up to as many newsletters as you can. Sign up to as many paid groups as you can afford. As many Discord groups you can join, Telegram groups that you can join. Try and funnel in information every single day that you can review, so you have an understanding of where the market is every single day, and then make decisions based off of that.
Yeah.
And then I think that is what can kind of drive success. Because what happens at the moment is that most people actually lose money in the markets. If you actually break even over a couple of years, you're actually doing better than the majority of people. But if you can break through that part of that pain and become profitable, you are like you are in the 5% of people who invest in crypto. Because what happens is people buy into tokens during the bull market, whilst other people have been accumulating during the bear market. People get confident in their decision making, and they keep adding more money, more funds, taking on more risk as the bull market progresses. Eventually, the market tops. Now, of course, no one can really predict when the market tops, and in the moment, you're all euphoric, emotions are high, you think, oh wow, this is amazing, I'm making so much money on paper. Time passes on, but the price isn't really going up. People get really complacent about their positions. Price goes down, back to their entry, and they think, okay, let me add some more money in, come back to a good place now. But price doesn't go up. It keeps going down, but you become emotionally attached. All that money you worked hard for years has gone into the markets. It can't possibly go down even more, can it? I can't possibly be losing all my money, can I? Well, I can tell you for sure, it's happened to me twice now.
Ben, pull up the emotional chart of trading. That's what it's called, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the, I don't know what it's called, but I've seen it many times as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's...
Is it? No.
Common one. I mean, it is that, but it's this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people end up, you know, taking on more risk during that new paradigm stage.
Yes.
No one is really over here because price isn't really moving and price isn't really doing anything.
And they've forgotten about it.
Yes.
And, you know, the amount of people now that's speaking to me about crypto, I'm like, where were you when Bitcoin was at 17K?
Yeah, exactly.
Where were you? You've given up on it because you heard some smart aleck on Twitter saying, "Oh, that's the end of Bitcoin. It's going to zero." So you've forgotten about it. But now all of a sudden it's hit 45k. You're like, "Oh, maybe I should invest in this." Yeah. I mean, just quite a poignant moment actually, because Bitcoin's had a bit of a fucking sell-off today, hasn't it?
I've not had a chance to check as much.
Yeah. So it was up in the 45k region, and it dumped 12% in an hour.
Oh, man.
Which is healthy because it's just been on a tear, hasn't it, for a year? I think it's up 300% or something. So it's at £33,000. I always work in dollars. Do you?
Yeah, I work in dollars.
But look at this here. I mean, it's recovered half of it again. So it went down to 32. So 42. It went down to 40. It was up at 45. And it dropped significantly.
That would have been a great opportunity, but I mean,
I tried to buy the dip, and
really?
all the exchanges were down.
Classic.
Couldn't buy the dip. If that's not telling you about manipulation, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So, coming back to your sort of crypto and your trading sort of career, how long have you been involved?
Quite a long time now.
Yeah.
I made my first purchase in May of 2017.
Okay.
Only because my line manager at the time, I was working at an agency doing SEO, and he was telling me, "Oh, my flatmate's doubled his money on Ethereum," and then I was like, "What are you talking about?" So
must have been down in the 0.001
it was like
pence or something.
No, it was like Ethereum at the time was something like $90, but then it doubled to like almost 200
in 2017.
Yeah, early 2017.
I'm sure I was buying it at $40 in 2019.
It went down to $80 after that cycle concluded as like the bear market bottom.
Yeah.
But I kind of blew it off as like, oh, it's nothing. Made some money gambling, whatever. Then a few months later, I saw price kept going up, and I decided to pay some attention to it because I saw an opportunity, and I bought some at like 180, something like that. Then I sold some in August because I remember the price wasn't going anywhere and I was in a slight loss. And then it ran up to like 1,400 in December, and I was like, oh shit, I missed out on this. Then at the top of the market, I ended up going all in. It was this cycle here.
Okay, the first one there.
I went all in into Tron. And then I ended up losing it all.
15th of January 2018. It was actually at $1,300.
Yeah. So I went in all the way. I lost all my money. Like, you know how I mentioned about side hustles and stuff?
Yeah.
So I was working on side hustles in my teenage years, buying stuff from China, drop shipping, all kinds of things. And I saved up a lot of money from the age of 13 to the age of 23. £35,000 I saved up. Grinding in my teens. Yeah. I lost all of that. Plus, I was £4,000 in my overdraft. Oh. In that first cycle.
You did 40 bags.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it wasn't until 2019. No, I was still on my overdraft. April of 2019. So that was 2.5 years.
Which was here, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
$100, $120 or something.
Yeah. And I was hating life at the time as well. I was driving to work 2 hours a day.
Did you ride it up to 5k?
Well, Ethereum. I'm now like in the place that I'm in. I tend to just buy and sell. I actually trade in and out of positions. Yeah. I feel more comfortable. Yeah. I don't want to lose what I have. And obviously, I've still got a long way to go.
Yes.
You know. But I've made some money, and I highly recommend everyone to get involved. You know, it's not like I'm a multi-millionaire or anything. You know, I want to be, and I think business, crypto, and AI.
You will be.
Those three things. Yeah, I think you will be as well if you aren't already. You know.
Let's see.
Because ultimately you've got to command attention. You know, and you're getting that. You know, you have over 100,000 followers on TikTok. 200,000, insane growth, by the way.
186, 187.
Yeah, so
massive.
Continue exponential growth at some point, whenever that comes. Yeah. Million followers. Yeah. You've got to start monetizing. Well, you already are monetizing it, but, you know. Yeah. It's just a matter of time. Social media, AI, crypto. Yeah. Focus on those three things, build a business around it, and scale it, and that's the opportunity.
So where you thinking crypto is going in terms of the bull run? When you reckon the proper bull run starting, the halving?
So funnily enough, a few days ago, I was messaging my friend saying to him, okay, I think it's time to kind of take a risk off the table. Me being, even though I preach about emotional discipline, I bought back in last night quite heavily.
Yeah.
And now on the drive up, I've seen that the market has tumbled. So I've lost quite a lot of money.
You're down.
I'm going to go down and see when I go back home how much money I've lost.
It's recovered a little bit. I mean, ETH went down to nearly 2K, I think, today.
Bloody hell.
Here we go.
Oh my God. Oh,
2-1. 2-1, back up to 2217. So there's been, but look, you and I know that this is just pure market manipulation, and so they liquidated $500 million of liquidated longs in 30 minutes.
Insane.
And for anybody that doesn't understand this is one big game where the exchanges are trying to earn as much money as they can.
Yes.
And what they do is they're able to see where most liquid funds are, whether they're short or long.
Yes.
So with the potential announcement of the ETF for Bitcoin this week, which people are expecting, everybody's longing Bitcoin. So there is $500 million of people that have said, we are going to buy X amount of Bitcoin at this price, and we're going to leverage trade it, and we're going to try and take the profit from it going up. So these market makers see that, bring the price down, liquidate the longs. This then in turn brings it down more, liquidates more, until you get a point like this where you get a rebound. And it's complete manipulation, because there's nothing changed in the fundamentals of Bitcoin between 11:30 this morning and 12. Nothing.
Yeah.
The SEC haven't come out and says we're not going to file the ETF. This was just pure market manipulation and hunting for liquid funds.
Hunting for longs. Obviously,
Hunting
if
for
you
longs
have
or
an open
hunting for
long,
shorts. Yep.
if long is liquidated.
Yep.
You obviously borrowed funds, borrowed Bitcoin. Now the exchange will dump it for you.
They've
to
dumped
get the money back.
So that brings the price down.
Yeah, and you really are up against it.
Yep.
This is why it's so important. It's so important to try and manage your risk to some degree.
Yep.
Don't go all in. There's a time to go all in. I've lost it twice now, and I have to work my way back up again. And why it's so important to try and work on a business as well on the side, because then you always have a reliable source of income coming in, so that if you do make a huge mistake, either you kind of become too emotional and over-invested and lost it all, or you kind of got you got scammed, or someone saw your private key and took your funds out of your wallet. All those kinds of things. There's a lot of risks here, and really men are really fighting, they're competing with each other. Like most people in the market are men.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, because men are the ones who are trying to accumulate the resources.
We're greedy.
Yeah, we're greedy, but we're trying to. This again goes back to our earlier conversation about sexual frustration. Men are trying to build their status up
so
to a
that they
certain
can
level.
then give their money out.
Yeah.
And get laid.
Yeah, exactly that. That's the fundamental driver of this market. That's why it's so emotional. People are like, oh my God, price is going down. I'm not getting laid again. Sell.
Fuck, I was buying a Lambo today. Now I'm buying a Ford Fiesta. Whatever it is.
So, it's a zero-sum game. And like I said, most people lose money. Whether you're up for a while or not, most people ultimately lose money because there's like a limited amount of money in the system, right? At any one time.
Or is there?
Obviously it's printed, obviously digitally printed in the wider economy, but at any one moment there's a limited amount of money in the system.
Yeah,
for someone to win,
what we're circulating at here at the minute on Ethereum volume, market cap, 266 billion, trillion, billion.
Yeah, and you have things.
Oh, it's like dollars, isn't it? So they're billion. What is that?
This is billion.
It's billion. 266, 383 billion.
Yeah.
Is the amount of money that is in that
If the number of coins were traded for that current price, then that would be the market cap.
Yes. But and people don't understand that. But look at the 24-hour volume, 17 billion.
Back and forth trades.
Yep.
You're
right. There's a finite amount of money in that.
And obviously, for someone to win, someone has to lose.
Of course.
And the people that lose tend to be people like you and me, everyday people, who are putting in their savings into this, expecting a return. Yeah, exactly. Because people up in the know have access to data, and they have experience as well.
Is this the last crypto bull run?
No.
You don't think?
No, I don't.
So you think if the ETF gets filed for Bitcoin, and then one gets filed for ETH, and the rumours are Solana next, They're the three. These ain't going to be trading and swinging 10, 15% in a day. They're going to act like a stock.
Yeah, I think long term, I think what we've seen so far naturally is a decrease in volatility. The return from each cycle decreases, but the general price movement is upwards.
Yes.
And the ETF effectively legitimizes this asset as an investable trading class.
Yes.
And now to every kind of lay person out there, the initial impression won't be, oh, this is a scam. This is actually like an investment vehicle where they can put their retirement funds into. And naturally that requires less volatility, it requires more stability. And
but when I'm talking about a bull run, I'm talking about what you and I understand as people put their money into Bitcoin, that rips.
Yeah.
They then take their money from Bitcoin and put it into Ethereum, which rips second. They then take the profits out of that, they put it into altcoins, which then really rips, and that's where you see the money. Yeah. Is that going to happen if your top two coins are this stable asset class, which is moving 2-3% a month down and up?
I think that will still happen because it happens in the stock market. People go further out on the risk curve as the bull market progresses.
Yeah.
People buy penny stocks.
Yes.
With their funds that they've kind of accumulated from their more stable holdings. Same thing will happen with this, but I do think there's a pattern that happens in the markets. Again, they're driven by emotions, but we tend to have like cycles, like multi-year cycles going up and down. In this instance, we have these 4-year cycles, and then in that cycle we have like 1 year down before we kind of resume the uptrend. But there's also like what we kind of experienced with the stock market, which is, we had I think 8 to 10 year bear market. That kind of stuff, I think, happens in every market. It goes up for a period of time, and then there's like a long period of time where it goes down, it just goes sideways. And that's a reflection of emotions and, the entire market as a whole. Yeah. So that will happen, I think. Maybe it happens after this cycle, I don't know. All we can do is just, and by the way, that would probably time pretty well with my kind of thought, which is before we get to this part where AI and technology bring us an abundance of resources and this utopia in the future, there has to be some sort of chaos. And I think if the market does go in this like long-term bear market for like 8 years, then those two that chaos beforehand lines up perfectly with a decline in the stock market and the crypto markets. So I do really think we have limited amounts of time. Manage your risk, I think you don't know the future. Whilst the opportunity's here, try and take advantage of it. Don't just sit there at your job and go home. Spend the extra time that you have available, your weekends, your evenings, your holidays, your sick days, for example. Take those off and do some work that's productive and try and maximize your opportunity. Because I'm telling you right now, when we get to the future, in the near future, by the way, when there are people who are on universal basic income and living in pods and, eating the bugs or whatever, I'm memeing here, but
you're probably not far off.
Probably not far off, but I think in that world, there will be a lot of sexual frustration amongst men who are unable to kind of get ahead and create status. And that will lead to a lot of violence in the population. Unless, of course, testosterone continues to go down, in which case I think everyone just kind of withdraws and becomes very feeble and quiet and just a shell of themselves. And that's where like AI, robots and these companions start to take over. But it's fun to speculate on what the future would look like. All I know is that in the medium term, what can men do to kind of create a better future? And that is, again, speculate in the markets in a calculated way. Try start your own business with a foundation of social media, and use AI to assist you to scale those things. Because you can use AI in business, you can use AI in crypto. In crypto, for example, if you don't understand a project, ask ChatGPT, okay, what is Ethereum? What is the investment case for Ethereum? Then keep asking it questions and understand more. You have like an assistant now to help elevate your
that has the
processing
world's
ability.
Knowledge
Yes.
there.
And if it doesn't have the world's knowledge, you can go out and look for it or kind of think about it yourself. It can strategize and work things out for itself. So crypto and social media and a business, AI on one hand, use AI to support you. Because in the future, again, people will be using AI, and you don't want to be competing with people in that world because it's just an arms race. Business A, business B, okay, both using AI. Business B uses AI to kind of take that business A's idea and move up ahead over here. Same thing happens with business A now. Up here, up here, up here, up here, up here. And it's just, it's an arms race. You're constantly fighting each other to get ahead, and rapid succession. You know, things will move a lot faster as we kind of move forward. And I don't think you want to be in a world where you're struggling. You know, you want to get ahead now, build that foundation where you have some, savings. Ideally, you've made progress towards paying off your house and all that kind of stuff. You want to have a less stressful life in terms of financial security when this world comes.
Do you think our ancestors would, if we went back in time and said to them, in 200 years' time, you're not going to have to grow your own food. You're not going to have to go and sweep the chimneys, work in the factories, and do all of these things. It's all going to be automated. But the people are going to be far more miserable than you guys are today. Do you think they believe that?
That's a very interesting question.
Because, the promise for the Industrial Revolution was you're going to have more time, more money.
Okay, yeah.
Machines are going to be doing the things for you. So, instead of having to do this or do that, machines are going to be doing it. It's going to be much easier. And that's going to make a better quality of life, which really is what the promise of AI is.
Yes, you're right.
But actually, people are more miserable now, more broke, poverty. And I know it's not the same poverty. We're not walking down streets with sewage by the side, and medicine's been fantastic, but the overall mental health and we're not having as many children. We're not staying in marriages. We've not got these extended families. 200 years ago they did. 150 years ago they did. And all these amazing inventions, you've got these fantastic cars that can drive themselves, and you've got this little computer in your hand that's got the knowledge of the entire world. If you want to read any book written, you just type it in, and it'll even read it out to you. And we can send messages instantly across the. We don't need to send carrier pigeons with a letter. They're going to say, "That's heaven."
Yeah,
You've reached the pinnacle of human beings.
Yeah, it's only a dream.
And yet you look at it, and people are miserable, suicidal, fat, depressed, shitty relationships, no drive. So ultimately, we're in a worse position than we were 200-300 years ago.
Again,
in many aspects.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It really ties back into what we were talking about earlier with how our primal brains haven't really caught up to the rate of exponential technological innovation. If we can't address the underlying issue of social connection, then how are we going to keep adapting to this new world of new technologies and stuff? Again, we can't be living in the metaverse and virtual reality if right now we're already struggling with this first step in social media. There's so much more to come. Who knows what kind of world we'll be living in the future? Who knows if this world isn't it's a metaverse of someone else's creation?
It makes sense. Did you hear about? I heard it yesterday. I think it was yesterday that it came out. There's a trial going to be taking place for the first sexual assault in virtual reality.
No way.
Between two characters. Legit. See if you can pull it up, Ben.
This is an absolute.
So while the police aren't going out there, you know what you said earlier about the chances of being convicted or anything of a sexual assault are so slim and low. So you imagine real world police and the legal system not going after real sexual assault, but going into metaverse sexual assault, where these two people are on different sides of the planet, and it was just his character going and doing stuff. Police are investigating an alleged rape in a virtual reality game after a child was attacked in the online metaverse in what is thought to be the first time such a probe has been launched. The girl, who is aged under 16, was using a headset to access VR room when adult men attacked her avatar. She was not injured, given the assault happened within an immersive reality game, but she is said to be psychologically and emotionally traumatised. Details about the case have reportedly been kept under wraps to protect the child amid concern of prosecution for the online assault is not viable. It's led to questions over whether police time is being wasted investigating such problems when it has a backlog of real rape cases to deal with, like we said. Home Secretary James Cleverly told LBC's Nick Ferrari at breakfast, "I know it's easy to dismiss this as being not real, but the whole point of this virtual environment is they are incredibly immersive."
That's very interesting. I think.
But it's what you were saying earlier. We're not ready as a species to be having to deal with things at this exponential growth.
No.
You know, if that was my daughter, I don't know the things that were being said. But it's not real.
Yeah, I know. But reading this, I think I understand the psychological and emotional trauma.
I totally
given
agree.
how realistic it has become.
Totally agree. But has this been blown out of proportion? Was it just a load of people in there calling each other names and this, that, and the other, and just being stupid? You've seen a group of lads playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Some of the things they say to each other there are absolutely abhorrent.
Yeah.
But it's in the spur of the moment. It's not real.
Yeah.
You know. But we're not ready for this as a species. And I think this is the tip of the iceberg. Like you said, when this new one comes out from... I've got a virtual reality headset in here.
Oh, really?
Actually. Yeah.
I tried one 7 years ago. I haven't... 8 years ago now. I haven't tried one since.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's Meta Quest 3. And this is the one that's got the augmented reality. So it's got the cameras on the outside as well. Yeah. So you can be seeing me in this room and it'll project a screen in front of you and you can do things. So it's a bit like Minority Report. Yeah,
I've seen a few videos.
Don't think it's charged up, is it? You can have a go on it afterwards.
Yeah, I'll try it afterwards.
Yeah, but it's... so that's the one. We've hardly used it.
Wow, okay.
But it is extremely immersive, and you're like, "Whoa, this is." But that's where it's going. How long before that's just a chip into your brain?
Yeah, or contact lens.
Or a contact
connected
lens.
to the brain chip or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're not ready for it. Same with AI. I don't think we're ready for it. You know, we can't really coordinate as a species. You know, we still have wars and poverty and homelessness and social issues which aren't being addressed. We aren't capable of organising ourselves.
Why do you think we haven't?
I just think it's very difficult to say why. People are just very different and leaders are very different, and someone has to take responsibility for it and lead this initiative. And it's very complicated, and laws and regulations, I'm sure, play a big part in it. And I don't really see it happening because there's obviously a lot of pros and cons to AI, and one of those is like you see in the movies with, you know, constant threats of civilization. I think that's probably where we're going to head towards. If we aren't able to organise ourselves. And
do we get to a stage where we hand over all of the governance and lawmaking to a computer?
Probably. AI probably comes along and says, okay, I can do this better than you. We already have some forms of this anyway in terms of decentralised autonomous organisations in crypto.
I lost thousands in those in the last bull run. Thank you very much, now.
Well, a good strategy to make it in crypto is to farm airdrops and identify projects which haven't yet released a token.
Yes.
But they won't tell you directly, but if you ask them, are you planning on decentralising soon in the form of DAO governance, and they say yes, then chances are that's, guaranteed they're going to release a token, because in order to ensure everyone has a vote in how the crypto protocol...
They have the tokens.
Yeah, they have to have the tokens and vote on proposals. So recently there was an airdrop on Solana, which kicked off, made things more exciting in Solana, which was a project called Jito. Only, I think, less than 10,000 individuals received that airdrop, and that was a 5-figure airdrop, which is now worth around $25,000, something like that.
Wow.
And there are many cases of that. But
and what is that? Is that a governance token for something? Yeah,
for a protocol.
Did you did you get any of that bonk coin?
I did buy it as speculation, as a gamble.
Did you see how it happened and how it did start to explode?
No, I didn't.
So Solana released a phone.
Oh yes,
the Solana phone, and they couldn't sell it for shit. Nobody wanted it, and then they decided to give away. Then they'll be able to find it. Something like 50,000, 50 million bonk tokens, and now all of a sudden you can't buy one of these phones for love nor money, and that was the massive spike. So that's it. It's the Solana mobile phone. It's called Saga. Secure, user-friendly, seed vault and blazing fast Web3 network in the palm of your hand. So these were, you know, I don't know the time frame, but they couldn't get rid of these for love nor money. Look, they're $4,000 a piece now on eBay.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
$4,000, $2,000. Oh, yeah, that's it. So there you go. 3,500, 3,900. All because they started packaging it with this airdrop of X amount of bonk token. And there were people that bought the phone, got this bonk token. This bonk token absolutely ripped. I think it did like 3,000% or something. Yeah. And people have bought this phone, and it's made them £500,000, $500,000 and stuff. It's crazy.
I put in $1,000, and then I sold it at like $4,500, and then it went on to do like another 2x or 3x, something like that.
Have a look at the So it was down there. Look at this. Yeah. Look at this. What percentage increase is that then? Can you get that on there? It's madness, isn't it? That's like
1,000% increase, isn't it?
Yeah, madness.
Something like that.
So have a look at the volume. So we've got 322 million volume there. It's down at 1 million.
Yeah. Who were those people? Just the gamblers who were speculating on the 1 million volume there.
Yeah. Well, it probably only got released somewhere there, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And was doing nothing, and then boom, all of a sudden it's there. So.
Again, I fundamentally believe you've got to sign. Like, the information that you get on Twitter and YouTube and TikTok about crypto, if it's from a big account, chances are it's
they're being paid to shill it.
Yeah, that's one thing. But there's a layer of information behind that everyone needs to try and access. And it gets back to my point about accessing groups.
Yes.
And just creating information flow that isn't on social media, because a lot of activity in terms of buying behavior happens before that token is shared on social media. When people are posting on social media about this, it's to kind of get more interest, and so the people that are in the know can dump on those people.
Yeah.
And in the bull market, that becomes so much more easy because there's so much more attention, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of people reaching out to you as well.
I had someone 2 days ago, I was just saying to Ben, they've released top G meme coin. Oh, really? And they were like, if you make a video, we'll give you 1 million of these tokens or whatever it was. But yeah, I've had a few people like that.
Yeah.
Flat Earth coin.
Yeah. And it's all good fun. I would always say that if you do ever promote anything like this, communicate to your followers that, this is a high risk.
It's a meme coin. There's a chance it might pump. There's more chance you're going to lose your money.
Yeah. But, if I was you, I'd benefit, I'd try and benefit from it, They'll give you tokens and sell it,
Yeah.
It's best, just all you have to do. Every man is trying to make it out here, and as long as your followers know this is the game that's being played, there's no problem. And you won't be under any scrutiny a few years down the line, which is what I think will happen to a lot of the influencers over the last few years.
Logan Paul.
Yep, who've been posting tons of who've been drawing in their audiences into these pump and dumps maliciously. They will eventually be criminalized.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen overnight. Just because you made it one cycle and you got off scot-free doesn't mean that in 5, 10 years, 15 years time they won't come for you, because it's happened plenty of times in the stock market already.
Of course it has.
So deleting tweets won't help either. There's always for example, a lot of posts happen on Twitter. That kind of stuff is not going to save you from the damage that's been caused, and there's always a record of your content on the internet somewhere.
Once you post something online, it's there forever.
Exactly.
It's there forever. Yeah. And that's what I say to people that are, wanting to start posting online. I said, one video on TikTok can change your life. But that doesn't always mean for the best.
Yeah.
Everybody always thinks when I say that to them that I mean that's going to, for the best. They'll go, oh, I'm going to get this video, it's going to get 10 million views. Yeah, if that's you doing something you shouldn't have been doing outside a chip shop one Friday night with your mates when you're all pissed up, unfortunately, you might have a knock on the door, or, your mum and dad might see something that you're not ultimately proud of, and, so yeah, one post can change your life. Not always for the best. So when do you think the T1000s are going to break through the doors of Parliament, take out all the governments and rule the world?
I don't know, man. I think probably like 10 years.
10 years, you think?
Within that.
Will they need us?
No.
Will AI need us?
No one need it. They'll probably think, oh, these humans are so wasteful.
Or, here's my theory. We optimise them to do certain things. So, for example, when the government say, we're going to put a new motorway down, we're not taking those ants and locusts and moles and voles out because we don't like them. To optimise our future, we need that road there. And as a result, they're the unlucky ones. Yeah. So what if the AI is designed to maximise CO2 production, CO2 production, and it decides
in terms of like looking after the climate and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And then the AI goes, the best thing we can do here is X, Y, and Z, which lowers the oxygen content in the environment, which as a by-result ends up killing all the humans.
Yeah, I think you raise a fair point because
I think people have these ideas that it's going to be this spiteful, but actually the means to, the reason the Titanic sank and all of those people lost their lives had to happen for us to be able to build better ships and better ships and better ships and better ships. And unfortunately, sometimes collateral damage occurs in the pursuit of improving things.
Yeah, you're right.
And what if we are collateral damage at some stage in the improvement of what this artificial intelligence is? Because let's face it, we're not sending a sack of blood and bones to another solar system.
No.
But we might be able to send a microchip or a radio transmission that encoded within that is a consciousness that can then seed a new planet.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I like how you think, because I think quite similarly, and I think a lot of people are probably putting these pieces of the puzzle together in their heads and thinking, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. I think the difference between humans and machines, we're very reactive to events in the world, and we're very emotional, and we're not capable. We're not very. Most of us aren't capable of controlling our emotions very well, whereas the machines will be very predictive of the future and also very logical. So, like you said, will be collateral damage to whatever they kind of want to build,
or whatever we've programmed them to build for us. Have you ever seen those movies where a genie comes along and the genie goes, "I'm going to grant you 3 wishes, but be very careful what you choose for. You choose, and no worry, no. I want to have all the money in the world." And then all of a sudden, they get all the money in the world, and as a consequence of that, all of these terrible things happen. The world starves because nobody else has got anything. Your parents pass away because of whatever it was, and then they go, "Okay, no, I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to live forever." And then they're on their own forever to eternity. So sometimes what you wish for, we don't always think about the consequences that might have if we actually achieve it. And
you just can't win.
You can't win. You can't win. You can't win. And I think the genie's out the bottle now with AI.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you can talk into ChatGPT-4 now, and
it's very fast. I don't know if they made any updates recently, but I've been using it.
Fast.
It's become so fast. Before it'd go off and start browsing the internet, but now it's like an instant information.
You on ChatGPT-4 on the paid one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
It's just
absolutely anything.
Interesting.
Buy the power invested in me by the intergalactic.
What is this? What movie?
What's the premise of this movie?
I've never seen this trailer. No? I've never seen this in my life.
That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
I was just talking about that as a concept.
Oh. It's an actual full movie.
What, that's already out or coming out?
It's out. Like, gets whatever he wishes for, and then he wishes for something, and it's like, it ruins the world and stuff.
No, I've never seen that. I've seen variations of that kind of thing before. I didn't realise that. But yeah, be careful what you wish for, because getting what you wish for has massive, it's like people that have gone through trauma and they've had a hard time with certain things. You wouldn't be where you are today without all of them.
Absolutely.
You take them things away and all of a sudden you're not there.
Yeah.
This isn't you. It's a completely different life path. But yeah, the AI is incredible. Like I said to you before, we started discovering our numerology that you need to have a little look into. I taught myself to draw, like really, really well. Show him some of the stuff. I just decided I want to draw, and I consumed myself with learning the skills and became pretty damn good.
Let's take a look.
But nobody needs to do that now. It won't be on there. It'll be on the Instagram. Yeah, Artistic N1K on the Instagram. So that's not even a finished one. Part of digital.
This is
yeah. This is me. This is my TikTok account, my old Instagram account.
Wow. Okay.
So I just literally just threw myself, consumed myself. So that's a drawing there. That's a tutorial.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So, but there's no need for this anymore now, because I can go onto ChatGPT and say, draw me a picture of a tiger riding a camel with a. Look, there's my hand.
That's actually insane. It looks so realistic.
Yeah, but there's hours and hours. I spent hours, and I just threw myself into it, and I'd be up until 3 o'clock, and I consumed myself with it. So going back to when we did our life path numerology thing, and it's saying to me, you're creative, you can teach yourself anything, you throw yourself at all of these things. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yeah. Yes, that is me. And it's taken me till I was later on in life to really come to terms with that and do that. And I just wonder, have we got any hate? Nah, you don't get hate on stuff like that. I loved my little social media foray with the art, because everything was all so peaceful. But equally, how many followers did I get up to on this before I stopped posting?
Wow.
1,908
1,000 posts. You were proper dedicated.
Proper
to this
dedicated.
grind,
Yes.
Wow.
The proper grind. I mean, scroll down on some of the others there, Ben. I've done some absolutely, really, really proud of some of them.
Wow.
So I used to do time-lapse videos, so you can see this is time-lapse, using pens and markers and just trying everything out. And then digital, bought an iPad, got the iPen and started learning how to do that. And I was passionate about it. But then one day, I just put the pencils down and I've never picked them up again.
Really? But why is that?
I've definitely got ADHD. That's an ADHD trait. Start something, get so deeply into it, and then one day I felt like I've completed that now.
Interesting.
I just felt I've completed that now.
Very interesting.
My house is full of half-completed video games and half-completed jigsaw puzzles, and projects and ideas. That's me. I can get absorbed into something, and then just be done with it.
So that's ADHD.
It's definitely an ADHD
or
trait.
Symptom of that.
A symptom of it. Yeah, you can be hyper fixated with something 1 minute, and then all of a sudden, not interested anymore. It's crazy.
I do believe there is. Well, I haven't read the research recently, but I do recall reading something along the lines of how ADHD and autism is increasing in children, generation to generation, and I wonder what kind of impact that has in society.
Is it increasing, or is it just being diagnosed better? Because
good question.
I'm 45 years old. I've never, ever spoken to anybody about anything like this. Nobody's ever even mentioned it to me. It's only when I'm watching things online and on TikTok, and people are now sharing information. And there's a fantastic woman on there. I mean, it has increased, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's quite. Yeah, I think.
But people are going on and self-diagnosing. So I could quite easily now go to the doctors, because I've spoken to a doctor on the podcast, and he's like, "Yeah, you've definitely got it. From what you've told me and what I know of you, you're definitely ADHD." So I'd go to the doctors now and probably be prescribed medication for ADHD. Whereas without the advent of social media, where people are sharing their stories, I would have never even thought it. I just thought that's how everybody thought.
But would you want to take medication?
100% not.
Yeah,
100% not.
Yeah, I think we're too trigger happy when it comes to prescribing medication and consuming medications. Yeah. I don't know about you, but during COVID, I didn't take the vaccine. Not because I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I've always just fundamentally believed in my body's own capacity for healing. And, I rarely fall ill. You could argue whether that's like a genetic trait or a function of lifestyle. We never really know.
Or both.
Or both, combination of both.
Yeah.
But I do believe, if you kind of treat your body with respect and don't treat it like a dustbin, you give it the things it needs, like, exercise, movement in general, nature, good food, that has minimal contaminants like, additives and colorings and artificial ingredients and chemicals, preservatives, whatever it is. And you also are willing to psychologically go through just a little bit of discomfort when you're ill, then your body will just, condition itself to become more resilient. And you have a cold, but you won't even know it. A lot of illnesses you'll battle without having any outward symptoms. And people are just too quick to just take medications.
It's the easy route mentality that our society's created. You know, I can sit on my TV now and order a pizza through my phone that gets delivered within half an hour. I don't even really need to get up. You know, it's pretty much there, isn't it? So if I'm feeling a little bit down or depressed, instead of taking the next 3 months to try and fix my fitness, cut down on the bad habits, it's, oh, fuck it, I'll just go to the doctor and they'll give me a pill. And I think it's, you know, it's a sad state of affairs. Coming back to the COVID, I had to have I worked in primary schools at the time.
I see.
Had to have the first one and then the second one, or else you lose your job. I haven't had any since. Because I think the same as you, you know, it wasn't going to affect me in a massive way. I was young enough and fit enough and didn't smoke, didn't have any underlying health conditions. Exactly what they said right at the start. What they said right at the start, no matter how it changed and got morphed into something else, was absolutely right. And I think about it a little bit like this. You know, when you look on your weather app on your phone, and you look 7 days in advance, and you look at what Saturday's doing, and it says, oh, it's going to be mild weather. And then as it gets closer to the day, they change their mind, and then it's like, oh, it's not going to be really bad. And then by the time it gets there, they were right 7 days ago. So it's almost like second guessing themselves. So when they came out and all of this was in the news, and it was like, look, it's a respiratory condition. It's not going to affect people much harder than the flu or a cold. But then all of a sudden, as it was this, you know, and now all of a sudden, with hindsight, they were right, weren't they?
Yeah.
So I think there's an awful lot that you can do. But it's the same for anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if they really gave a shit about us, they'd ban smoking.
Yeah, 100%.
Wouldn't they? They'd ban alcohol.
Yeah, it's too profitable.
It's too profitable. And like one of the guys said on the podcast a few weeks ago, what government is going to come in and try and introduce that? Because they're not going to get voted in. And if they did bring it in today, the next government, the next general election, will say, we'll remove that. And it's a landslide.
Yeah.
It's a landslide. So they're in a situation where they can't really do a lot about it. But the grand scheme of things, so that's what we were talking about, weren't we? The tobacco profits. So tobacco profits are 10 billion.
Well, this is the thing though, isn't it? It's not, like, a lot of people think that governments are malicious, but I just think fundamentally, I think that there could be some truth to that. You never know, but I think it's just very difficult to lead 8 billion people and organise everyone together to ensure there's no chaos or minimise chaos. So you could argue that all the failings of government, you know, related to, for example, in the UK to, you know, for example, NHS and knife crime and all that kind of stuff, is not because of malicious intentions, but is mostly just because of, you know,
human
incompetence.
ineptitude.
Yeah, incompetence.
Yes.
And just the lack of knowledge or the ability to use resources effectively to govern.
And equally, they are trying to get voted in again. That's their job, isn't it?
Ultimately,
they want to sit again. They want to be the Prime Minister again, or they want to be the government. So when I make a post on TikTok, I know there are certain things I can't say because my account will get banned.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to say them. It just means that I've got to play by the rules.
Yeah.
Just equally so will a politician. Ultimately, they need to stay in power. That's how they're funding their kids' education and their ski trips to the Alps every winter. So they're going, hang on a second, if I come out here and say X, Y, and Z, which is what I firmly believe in, there's a very good possibility that I'm done and dusted. So I always say this, I think the world's biggest conspiracy is money.
Yeah. Once you have that freedom achieved by accumulating money, then you have a bit more, I don't know, you can bring your true self into the world and say what you want, because I can't say what I want either. It's one of the reasons why I don't really enjoy social media as much. I don't really post that much anymore. Other than you see my ads everywhere now, but you won't see me posting much.
No.
Because you can't be your authentic self.
No.
There's always some sort of rule, you know, if I say something out of line, you know, it could be Facebook or Instagram shutting down my platform there, or it could be Shopify shutting down my website, or it could be a payment processor shutting down my ability to receive payments, or it could be my bank account shutting down my ability to, you know, store my money, you know, all kinds of things. And it's easier until you finally made it in your life. It's easier just to keep your head down, buckle down, get to work, and work on your kind of escape plan.
But then once you've made it, is that not even more difficult then, because you've got it and everybody's eyes are on you now, and it's like one false step, you're done. Self-censoring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is ultimately what we do. But I try and ask this to everybody that comes on here. It's very easy for somebody without very much to say they would have integrity if they were offered this and that and the other. Everybody's got a price. You know, I say to people, what's the worst thing you'd do for 10 quid? You could probably sit there and think of a few. What's the worst thing? Where would I go to? 10 quid. That changes at 100. That changes at 1,000.
Yes.
And then 1 million.
Yes.
And then 10 million.
Yeah.
You know, would you press a button now there that I said to you? You press that button, you get £1, but one random person in the world dies. Would you do it?
Of course not. No.
Of course you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would they?
No. Well, you never know.
Would you do it for 100 million?
Now you got to think about it.
There you go.
Now you got to ask questions.
Now you got to ask questions. And if you, after you've thought about that, you come back and you say, I wouldn't do it. And then 150 million's on the table.
Yeah.
Where's that point at which you would do something that you know is wrong, you know doesn't fit in with your spirit, your inner, whatever it is that our soul.
Where's the line?
What monetary value is that? Because when you control all the money in the world, everybody has a price.
Yeah.
So the real conspiracy is the money, isn't it? And the lifestyles that are around it. And well, actually, if you say any, you know, how have Manchester City not been done for breaches of financial fair play when Everton are done and 10 points docked? It's because they've got enough money to do whatever needs to be done to wrap the lawsuit up in red tape. Whereas, so it's easy for the traffic warden to give me a ticket. But if I was David Beckham, there's probably a way I can get out of that because I've got a great lawyer that goes and looks at all the rules and actually looks and says, actually, that yellow line was slightly broken three metres down.
They'll find the reason why.
They'll find the reason why.
Yeah.
But I can't afford, you know, £100,000 for the best solicitor and lawyer to come and get me out of a parking ticket. So you can imagine that the higher up the food chain you go, these companies with all the money in the world, they do whatever they want.
100%. Yeah.
They do whatever they want, and but you know, I think it's a human trait. You know, I've had people that sit and say, "No, I would never do that for all the money in the world." And I said, "Okay, what about if your child was sick, and the man comes knocking on the door and says, I want you to press that button, and we'll take care of all of your child's needs." You won't need to pay for anything. You've got the best doctors, the best medicine ever.
Yeah. Very tempting at that point.
Everyone's got a price.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, you know, because we're trying to get to a stage where we are financially secure.
Yeah.
I wonder when we stop wanting more, does that ever stop?
Yeah. I'm curious to know as well. Obviously, I haven't got to that stage yet myself where I can even ponder that question. But, you know, again, I just want to focus on making sure, at least for me, my family's taken care of.
Yep.
I can take care of my parents. I can take care of, like, you know, my future family as well, that sort of thing.
But what is family taken care of? Is it buying them a nice little 3-bedroom semi-detached house and a second-hand Ford Fiesta? Because very quickly they go, we'd quite like a bigger house now, Saj. So are you not taking care of them if you don't go to that next level?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very ambiguous kind of statement. Because ultimately, most of us should be satisfied with what we've got.
Yeah.
We've got clean water. We're in a nice room. We've got a bed. We've got decent enough food. If we, you know, just don't go to fucking McDonald's and buy Skittles and Aeros, we're not bad.
Yeah.
But we always strive for more.
Yeah, again, because as a species, we're constantly driven by, you know, again, sex and accumulating status, standards of what is acceptable in terms of a basic standard of living. That changes over time. You know, if you're in a war zone, for example, if you have access to food, you know, or, you know, supplies or whatever, you're going to have a higher status. If you're living in ancient times, you know, if you're able to grow your own food, and provide for the village, you're going to have higher status. But these days, it's easy to get food. You just walk down to a shop, at least in our society. So over time, this is how the species kind of advances itself. The baseline changes over time, and for men, it's particularly important to pay attention to it because we're the ones who have to build our status over time. In contrast, women, are, generally speaking, are born with it in terms of their physical appearance and their fertility and the youth. Whereas men, we have to build it. So we have to be more focused on what's going on around us and be more predictive of the future and where it's heading, because it affects us directly and our position in society.
I'm wondering if, because I'm intrigued by this idea of ancient civilizations that were more technologically advanced than us.
Me too.
I love to think about that because I've been to the pyramids, been inside them. I've been to Stonehenge, I've been to Chichen Itza in Mexico. I love all of that, and I love all of the kind of folklore that goes around it, and the aliens did it, and this, that, and the other. But I wonder if, imagine as a civilization, all the traits that you need to take you to where we are now, which were masculinity, femininity, caring, having berserkers that can go and, because there is an evolutionary trait for why we have psychopaths in society. And do you know what that is?
No.
When you send a load of blokes out to go and destroy a village, you need them to be able to come back and not be affected emotionally, PTSD, all of that. So who do you send out there to do it? The psychopaths. You can't send somebody that goes over there, sees the things that they've done, do the things that they've done, and come back and be emotionally wrecked. So the psychopath is a well, I don't know this for sure, but it's a great idea. You want your psychos going out there doing that, don't you?
Yeah, very interesting.
You're going to get into this little wooden boat and you're going to go across that ocean. We don't know how far it is.
Yeah.
And then you're going to land on a beach with axes and shields, and you're just going to mow people down. You're going to burn the villages down. You're going to see things. You're going to get as much gold as you can, and then you're going to come back. And we're all going to celebrate. There's a very, very specific type of mental trait that you need to be able to do that.
Very interesting. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is what we've always done. But now, as a result, nothing like that's ever taken place. So what are the psychopaths doing now?
Well, they're kind of destroying their own villages.
Destroying their own villages, destroying their own towns. So it's crazy. But going back to what I said, imagine if all of those traits that take us to this point get us there, and then all of a sudden, the weaker men and women, because status is no longer strength and who can grow the best crops and this, that, the other. It's who's bought a meme coin on a phone and got £100 million in the bank. And Sam Bankman-Fried, one of the richest blokes around. I mean, come on, you don't want that gene pool existing much longer, do you? There's not a lot of good's going to come from that in an evolutionary scale. But these are the kind of guys that get there. So I wonder if we get to a stage where this is now the gene pool and it just gets absolutely wiped out. And we go back to ground zero. And then we're in the caves with this and the other. Now all of a sudden, it's those traits again that we need.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's this obviously popular phrase which is hard times create strong men create good times, but good times create weak men, and weak men create bad times. So it's just, like you're saying, there's equilibrium in nature and homeostasis. Nature will eventually find a way to reset itself, and it's a gradual process. And I think we're kind of, like you're kind of suggesting, I think we're in that stage now where the weak men are creating the hard times, and that is becoming a reality soon. So,
but the strong men are all killing themselves.
Yeah. Generally speaking.
Because what was deemed as being strong and successful now no longer is.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have the Lambo, and you've got to have the 25,000 followers on Instagram, and you've got to have the model girlfriend this week and the tennis playing girlfriend the next week. Because if you've not got all of that, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Whereas 40 years ago, your dad that was a policeman or a fireman that was married to the same woman, he was the man. Yeah. That's what you wanted.
But he was capable of providing for his entire family.
Absolutely.
Just on his
one
own
wage.
Yeah, on one wage.
My dad bought our house that I used to live at in Loughborough, just down there, for £6,000.
Wow.
It was a 3-bedroom semi-detached house with a drive.
Wow, and that was probably what, like 2 or 3 times a yearly salary or something at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, something
Maybe
reasonable.
not. Maybe only half. In actual fact, he did buy it because he was a fireman. The house that he had was close to the fire station, and there used to be an alarm that used to go off, and the fireman would literally just run to the thing. He didn't have to be in the... And then after a certain amount of time, they were allowed to buy these houses. So it was on a discount.
Okay.
But I can't imagine that the house was probably worth any more than £15,000. So it was perhaps on, I don't know, £7,000 a year.
I see. Wow. So
and bought the house for less than what he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's impossible.
Now it's impossible.
Yeah. No, you can be in a relationship, or you can be married, both members of the family, both husband and wife working, and still struggling to put a roof over their heads.
Yep.
Imagine what that does to the family, the kids. Who raises the kids when both a man and woman are working? A third party will be doing that.
The streets.
Yeah, the streets.
In a lot of cases.
And social media.
Yep.
I guess, obviously I'm not a parent. I don't know, are you a parent yourself?
Yeah, two kids, 17 and 13.
Yeah, so you know how involved you have to be in their lives, but if you're working all the time...
Yeah, only if you want to be a good parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to be a good parent, just the same as if you want to be a good footballer or a good TikToker, you have to invest and you have to go all in. But there are a lot of people that don't want to be. They're not good parents. There are a lot of shit parents out there, and possibly as a consequence of them having shit parenting and the skills being learned. So I've been invested. That's all I ever wanted to be was a dad. That's what I wanted to be, a dad. And the best dad that I could be.
Amazing.
But part of that means that you have to work 7 days a week.
Yeah, and that's the problem with society at the moment, which is men, and another reason for suicide, I believe, which is men are working so hard to provide for their families, but as a consequence of trying to put a roof over the family's head, they can't be present for their family as much as they would like to be. And then you have, the wife potentially complaining about that, or the kids, not acknowledging how much work you're putting into raising the family, because you're just not there. They can't see what you're doing. Decades down the line, the problems are kind of spiraled where now you're kind of fighting for divorce, all that kind of stuff, and custody of the kids, because you haven't been present. And it's not your fault. It's because you've been trying to put a roof over their heads. And it's a fault of the system, which is now enabled or is now creating poverty, and hardworking men are fighting to keep their families above water. And, imagine being a man who spent his entire life working his arse off, breaking his back, not having time for himself, and then, providing for his family, only then to be rejected by his own family, and then left out in the cold. It's a big deal.
It's a very common occurrence.
Yeah, it's a very big deal and very common, like you said, and particularly for young men, and for me as well. It kind of our innate drive is to kind of find a relationship, and settle down and find someone, right? But then on the other side of that, you have the thought of, okay, how can I provide for this family? Can I, a lot of young men are priced out of love, is what I kind of call it.
Yeah.
They can't afford love at the moment. But then what happens when you finally get into a relationship or you get married? Well, what's at the end of that line, at the end of that journey? That situation I just described about men going through divorce because they weren't present for their family, that is a very real thing and a possibility. If you don't make that upfront investment before you get into a relationship, before you get married, to achieve financial freedom. Like, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm just working paycheck to paycheck when I'm married and I've got a massive mortgage on my head and also kids to look after. I want to have like a nest egg before I get into that situation. But then unfortunately, it just means for me to get to that stage where I have my own family will take longer. There's a reason why so many people are getting, in modern times, less than a third of people are married by the age of 30, whereas just like 2 generations ago, it was over 90% would be married by the age of 30. Now it's not really possible. It's not really financially feasible to do so.
No. The wedding costs 50 grand.
Yeah.
The honeymoon costs X amount. It is. I think we're standing on the edge of a precipice financially, globally, and I don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know.
I can tell you almost one guarantee or one high probability. At the bare minimum, there are going to be a lot of desperate people out there who want to make it. They'll be seeing their friends making money in crypto, and they'll be thinking, okay, I've got nothing to lose now, so I'm going to put everything I've got into the markets and see where it takes me. And a lot of these people will lose a lot of their money. And I don't know, it's just kind of heading in towards all of this stuff. It's just heading towards this sort of climactic event. And I don't know how things are going to unfold, but
I was looking yesterday at. So you obviously clued up enough. You understand what derivatives are in the stock market. And Goldman Sachs and the next biggest bank might be JP Morgan. They are over-leveraged in derivatives by 100 to 1. So they've got $100 trillion worth of derivatives, which are essentially bets against stocks, in layman's terms, stocks going up or down. So we think that shares in eBay are going to go up by $1. That doesn't sound like much. But when you've got $100 trillion backing that to happen or to go down by $1, and it doesn't, all of a sudden that creates, which is exactly what happened in the 2008 financial crash, to do with subprime mortgages. So you've got a lot of mortgages, and you've got these big financial institutions effectively betting on whether it's going to be a long or short. Is this group of mortgages going to default? We think it is, so we're longing it, or we think it's not, so we're going to short it, whatever it might be. And see if you can bring it up, Ben. It was something like US-backed derivative rates by financial institutions or something like that. It is the biggest bubble you have ever seen, that it will make all global... It's unbelievable. It's trillions and trillions backed leverage in the financial here that is just... And you think to yourself, it's going to take one small thing and the whole house of cards is going to come down.
But who's going to pay for it?
Well, yeah,
the young people.
Exactly.
But there aren't enough young people being.
It was in a chart. Are we here?
I would always just copy and paste this stuff in chat.
But this is in millions of dollars. 17,589 trillion dollars. And you see how sneaky they are. They put this in here, so you think, what, 5,731? Yeah, that's millions of dollars. So it's billions, is it? 17,589 million is what? Billion or trillion? It's a lot of fucking money. And this is just one thing, but it's just absolutely ready to fall down, and it's quite scary. Not a lot of people know that, and it's...
Yeah, you have to be prepared for... Like, we have to be prepared for
I don't know how you prepare for this to go bang. Because when this goes bang, we are back to the cavemen era. Because there is no food being delivered. The electricity goes off. It all helps. People don't realise the magnitude of,
I mean, that's why I also preach the idea of self-sufficiency and working towards learning those ancestral skills about sourcing food, water and shelter. But everything at its own pace, first focus, like for me at least, focus on making as much money as possible.
Yes.
Taking care of the requirements of modern society. Because obviously it's funny how, I'm thinking, I need to make as much money as possible first before going out into a forest and learning how to grow my own food and whatever. But, focus on making some money and then work towards, if you can, learning some hard skills. Because again, I've said before, we have to try and mitigate risks in our life. We have to be forward-thinking about what's coming and reduce the risks so we can look after our families and our communities and stuff. So
what time was then? I thought I've got to pick Megan up at 5. I was like, what's the time?
Yeah, we have done quite a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
But yeah, focus on just those core skills that we talked about in this podcast, and I think at least you have some peace knowing that you're working towards some kind of freedom, where you don't have to worry about money as much, and you can look after your health by training and stuff, and eventually working towards self-sufficiency. You know, those are some key goals of mine at least.
Saj, I think we're good there.
Very nice.
So last thing, Athanase. It's got all of that stuff in it that we've said. I take most of them anyway. Get on the website. So I'll get some videos put up about this with the link in it. Is the link's just dead easy to find on there for me, is it?
Yeah, you can go through to the TikTok shop.
Yeah.
And you should get an affiliate link and get commission.
Perfecto.
Or you can always sign up to the website affiliate program.
Yep. Any more products in the pipeline?
Yes. I'm likely coming out with a collagen peptide blend.
Okay.
Quite a unique formulation. It also contains...
Oral? Is that an oral thing?
It's a powder as well. You can consume it orally. Marine collagen with vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, and a little bit of biotin, just to focus on, mostly aesthetics. So
so that's anti-aging and things like that, is it?
Yeah.
Last thing, because I don't know if you saw it, but I went to London yesterday and I saw these people doing these drips. 255 quid, intravenous drip in a shopping centre, vitamins and things like that.
Really?
Yes. They were called Get a Drip. Have a look at the price on some of these. So the vitamin C and something acid was 255 quid.
Wow.
But I mean, it wasn't surgical at all. It looked fancy. And you've got people just sat there holding these drips up with it been intravenously infused.
It just seems like a weird thing to me.
Unbelievable. I mean, I made a video about it and a lot of people were saying, I've seen it. But the actual brand, the company was called Get a Drip.
I can understand why it's so popular because, well, not popular, but it's useful because naturally when you're consuming supplements, some of it, doesn't get absorbed by the body. So
look, and it wasn't anything like this. It was like this kind of thing because it was all open. It looked exactly like those places where girls go and get their eyebrows done. You know what I mean? It was just open air, and there was a shoe cleaner and stuff close by that was cleaning people's trainers and whatnot. And I just thought, I can't understand what this is. And then I actually had a look and looked over. Here it is. Look, just in a shopping centre.
Very interesting.
But I mean, it's, like you're saying, people aren't probably getting enough of the right things in. But again, for me, it's just another, what we were talking about, this quick fix society that we live in. I'm just going to go down to Westfields, do a bit of shopping and get an intravenous drip at the same time. Yeah. And now I don't need to worry about eating the right things. I can go and get pissed up again and I can go and do this, that and the other. Yeah. And it's just kicking the can down the road, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, that's why I always preach first, to everyone who's asking about Athanase, start training, eat properly, be disciplined, work on the things that are free.
Yes.
And then look towards supplements. Yep. Because these things really only enhance the lifestyle rather than act as a quick fix. And also psychologically reaffirming your mind that, okay, I'm making a huge change in my life. Yeah. And every little thing helps in terms of training and supplementation.
You get a lot of people that they've got terrible lifestyles. They go and buy creatine, let's say, for example. Most studied supplement on the planet. Take this creatine because the mates told them it's good. And then they stop taking it. Like, why'd you stop taking it? I didn't notice any difference. Oh, right. Do you go to the gym? No. Okay. Do you train in any way, shape, or form? No. Yeah. What's your diet like? Oh, shit. 10 pints a day, blah, blah, blah. You're like, you're not going to notice anything. These are the 1%, 0.5%, 0.11% increases that you get when the rest is optimized.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that obviously the Shilajit that you know is it really helps with the sleep and the dreams. And I've had people who say, I've been taking Shilajit for 2 months now and I've not noticed any difference in my dreams or my sleep. I'm like, okay, how much are you drinking every night? Oh, about 8 pints.
Yeah.
Bro, nothing's going to help you while you're drinking 8 pints at night.
Absolutely.
Because that's ruining everything.
You are poisoning yourself.
You're poisoning yourself at night time. So you're not. It doesn't matter if you're going. have a general anaesthetic.
Yeah.
It's not going to work as effectively as if you were
Yeah.
sober and you'd done 6 days where you've been eating clean. Then all of a sudden you go, I'm so in tune with how I feel. I can feel that now. Oh, I
Yeah.
can feel that. I can feel that. I can feel that. And that's the same with all of these things. But, you know, they've all been tried and tested. And looking after yourself is important, particularly mental health. And if you are struggling mental health-wise, go and have a look at what you're doing physically.
Absolutely. Great
What's
advice.
your body doing? What's your
Yeah.
gut doing? You know, and try and eradicate as much bullshit out of your life as you can before you go, I need to go to the doctors.
Yeah.
I need to go for therapy. Because 90% of the time, I don't know the stats, I'm throwing stats out, it's probably more than 90% of the time. The reason you're feeling the way that you're feeling is because you're stuck in a dead-end job, in a dead-end relationship. You drink too much, you do too little, you don't go and see male friends if you're a male, you don't do anything for yourself, and you've not got enough money.
Absolutely.
And you can fix all of those.
Yeah.
You can fix all of them. You know, you don't have to be in a loveless relationship. You don't have to be waiting for your boss to give you a pay rise. Get yourself a side hustle. You don't have to be a fat slob that doesn't do anything.
Absolutely.
You don't need a gym membership to do that. Go and have a walk.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be an alcoholic. You don't have to be. Some people are more have a disposition towards that. You don't have to be a drug addict. You can make these changes. And then after you've done all of that, if you're not feeling 90% better, then go and seek maybe medical advice. And I know it's not always as easy as that, and it's easy for somebody to sit here and say that, but I think we've lost that connection with, you know, getting outside and sleeping.
Yeah.
And all of those things that are so simple and free.
Yes.
But we're looking for that quick fix that's going to cost us. I'll pay £500 a month subscription to something if it's going to make me feel happy. I'm going to carry on doing everything that I've done, but I want to take that load off, and you do that. I want to go and eat all the shit food and all the shit drinks, but I still want to feel good at the end of it. Well, you're not going to do it. Saj,
thank you, Nick.
it's been a pleasure, mate.
Likewise.
Really, really enjoyed it. Fantastic.
Me too. Great
Really
podcast.
good, man. Yeah, amazing. Amazing, yeah.